Hi everyone, this is Peter McPhail with United Country Lifestyle Properties of Maine. Welcome to our off-grid living series. And if this is your first series that you've seen or video that you've seen, you can click on the playlist and watch the other videos in this series. So we're glad to have you here with us today. And I thought it was, excuse me, I thought it was time to give you guys a tour of the cabin. So today's episode, we're going to do a tour of the cabin. We're going to talk about some of the working components and plumbing. We're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into plumbing, specifically water heaters. And also, when my brother and I bought this place several years ago, it had been vacant for a couple of years anyways. And the mice had taken over this place. So we're going to talk about pest control. When you're living off-grid in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by hundreds or thousands of acres of vacant land, pests will become an issue. So you need to know how to deal with that. So I appreciate you watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So come on for the tour. So off the breakfast nook obviously is the kitchen area. And originally when we bought the place, it had an old propane and wood combination cook stove, but it was in rough shape and I didn't feel it'd be safe to use it. So we replaced that with a new propane stove. And as you can see in the cabin, we do have propane lights, and I use those for backup. And all of our light fixtures in here, I've replaced everything with LED bulbs, so we're not using much power at all. And one of the biggest power users is right there, the coffee pot. But if you have never used these types of propane lights, let me see if I can show you how they work. So we have two types of propane light fixtures here. This one is actually a dial. So there's a black dial right here. I'll probably shoot some additional footage so you can see a close-up of it. But a black dial here that you turn counterclockwise to turn the gas on. But before you do that, light your lighter, have that going. Do not touch the mantle up inside there because that is extremely brittle. So let's go ahead and now turn the gas on. And then you got the light. So you can adjust it somewhat, but these are great for just utility. You know, you're not going to read a book underneath them, or you could, but they're not the best for that. So this is just above the kitchen stove. So the next style of propane light that we have is actually controlled by a lever. So there's a lever here that's pointing down. It's got a little black tip on it. So again, I'm going to start the lighter first before turning the gas on. And then I'm going to push in on that and then flip the lever up. Now they will give off a lot of heat. So using them in the fall and the winters is fine because you're going to have some heat gain from it too. But summertime, don't recommend it. So now to shut it off, just push in and down. Shuts it off, that easy. Finishing off the kitchen, we have a propane refrigerator, and it is small. This was original to the cabin. We have enough solar that we could run an electric refrigerator full size if I wanted to, but really I haven't had a need to do that. So we're getting by with this propane fridge here. From the kitchen area, I have my pantry room, kind of storage room in here. And then in this closet, we have our electrical panel. We have the well expansion tank and also the propane hot water heater. Let's talk real quickly about hot water tanks and ways to heat your hot water. I mean, certainly in an off-grid situation, you could use some sort of solar setup to heat your water. We have the original tank that was here. That's a 50-gallon propane hot water heater. And about a year ago, I was going to switch that out to an on-demand, those small on-demand systems. And my plumber talked me out of it, Tim Davis of Tim's Plumbing. So I'm going to go to that clip right now, and Tim will explain, why those are not a good situation for off-grid. So I'm here on location at Tim's Plumbing, and I'm here with Tim Davis. Tim is a veteran-owned business, Tim's Plumbing. They cover the greater Bangor area and beyond.
That's right.
Right? And Tim is gracious enough today. We're going to talk about the water heater situation. So in our off-grid cabin, we've got a 50-gallon propane water heater. What are the pros and cons with something like that and maintenance issues, Tim?
Well, one of the biggest things we look for, Peter, is people will call, and to me, you want to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
If you're gonna go to your camp or you're out in the middle of nowhere, however far that may be, you want to have low maintenance issues. You're not going to want to have to call me during your weekend and call and say, Tim, I have no hot water. How soon can you get here? And then I have to tell you, well, I'm at my camp and I have plenty of hot water. So I'll call you Monday, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is when you're in need of a system is we got to look at all the factors. We got to look at, are you on a well system? Is it a private system? Do you feed out of the lake? Because all of these things will factor in. You know, what is the water makeup there? We probably want to do a water sample and do a free water test for you.
Yep. See what kind of mineral content's in there that might cause problems.
That's right, because all of these systems are sensitive to pressure, temperature, debris in the water. And if you have a tank water heater with a tank, it's pretty simple.
Keep it simple.
An electric or a propane, you usually have two elements,
Okay.
a drain on it,
Yep.
two thermostats. You flush it out once a year and you're all set.
Okay.
An on-demand water heater,
Yeah.
for instance, we have a lot of callbacks and service calls for because it's a more complicated system.
All right.
Because they have a coil and they're very sensitive to pressure. A well system, your pump comes off, builds up pressure,
Yeah.
the pressure drops down. If you don't maintain a certain pressure, the water heater may shut off.
Oh.
And it won't be a convenient time when it shuts off. It's going to be in the middle of a shower, right?
Yeah, so I can see where that pressure would be an issue at my place because I've noticed that. I've noticed when that well pump kicks on, there can be a big fluctuation in the
Right.
pressure.
Right.
So I certainly have noticed that.
Yeah. And there's always a solution for every problem,
Okay.
but it's has to do with budget. You know, most people, if it's a recreational home or a camp,
Right.
they want to be there, they want to enjoy it, they don't want to constantly be doing maintenance issues. So one of the big things with the on-demand water heaters is they are a space saver. Now, the big con to that is if you're in a camp, you think you're saving space, but all of a sudden now you have to put a water filter in, which, okay, to start out with, it might just be a small canister.
Okay.
No big deal. Hangs on the wall,
Right.
But after we get your water test back, then we find out the water is hard, you have iron, you have manganese in the water. So all of that stuff is going to cause scale on this on-demand water heater. So now all of a sudden you need a 5-foot tall water softener with a brine tank that takes up another 5 feet, right? So now instead of a space that was 3 by 5,
Right.
you're going to need like a 15 by 20 space to implement all of these systems just to make that on-demand water heater work properly.
Properly so that I'm not calling you on the weekend.
Right. That's right.
So, Tim, sounds to me like in an off-grid situation that your tank, like the 50-gallon tank system that I have, is probably the better solution. And then if somebody is on a city water supply, where would that on-demand come in useful?
So like I said, every situation, which is what we do here at Tim's Plumbing, we evaluate every situation individually.
Right.
To make sure, because we want our customers to be happy.
Yep.
We want you to turn on the faucet, take for granted that the water is hot and it's not going to stop, and just be happy with that.
Sure.
So on a perfect scenario for an on-demand water heater would be someone that lives on a municipality water supply, city water,
Okay.
constant pressure. The water is not fluctuating. Maybe they have a hot tub or a jacuzzi tub that they're trying to fill up,
Yeah.
and they have a demand for endless water. You hear about this all the time.
Right.
Well, this says that it's endless, right? My hot water is endless.
Right.
Well, how much hot water do you need, right?
Yeah.
So a tank water heater may be a good application for you because most of the time you're going to come in off the trail after hiking, whatever.
Yeah.
You just want to have a hot shower. Most of the time, a 50-gallon electric water heater or a hybrid water heater will give you 40 gallons of available hot water at any time,
Okay.
which is a 15 to 20 minute shower.
So
When you're camping, typically that's pretty good.
that should be enough, unless you got, the young kids and stuff like that. And that's when you put a timer on it, a shut off somewhere.
Right. Well, let's put it this way. I have my wife, myself, and two 13-year-old granddaughters that live with us.
Yeah.
They take long showers. I have a 50-gallon electric water heater.
Okay.
Bradford White.
All right.
Has the new insulation, 2-inch blown-in foam insulation in it, so it's highly efficient.
Yeah.
They have never had to run out of hot water
Wow.
before. So, and I knock on the door and say, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" Right.
So it saved them from making a service call to Tim's Plumbing.
Right. Now, I will tell you a good reason to replace your hot water heater is, even if it is a tank hot water heater, a brand new electric water heater from 1995 to 2002, when they came up with the new California code insulation
Okay.
and high efficiency rating, it would lose 50% of its efficiency within the first 5 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So they kind of got a bad rap then.
Yeah.
Well, they've come a long way since then.
sounds
So a 50-gallon electric water heater for a family of 5, you can expect to pay about $30 a month.
So Tim, we've talked about tankless tank heating systems. What in the state of Maine? What would you say is probably the most efficient way to heat your hot water?
Well, of course, again, Peter, it's all application. So we would go out, we'd assess the best situation for you. To me, though, anywhere, not even just the state of Maine, but across the country,
Right.
worldwide, a lot of people are going to hybrid heat pump hot water heaters, which can be very, very efficient,
All right.
low maintenance, which we like,
I like low maintenance.
right? And they can give you a lot of available hot water. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, right?
Okay.
Between the tankless hot water heater and just a solely electric water heater.
Okay.
And right now, the state of Maine, Efficiency Maine, is giving a rebate out for those water heaters. And we can instantly take the rebate off. If you call us, we install a high efficiency Bradford White water heater. We can get that taken off right when we come to your house. So there's nothing
No
to mail
paperwork
in.
to do.
Easy peasy.
Well,
Right?
easy's good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really one thing to consider. It takes up a little bit more space than a regular electric, but if you imagine that this was your tank water heater, you could add about 2.5 to 3 more feet to the top of that water tank. And you need to have 24 inches of clearance all the way around the
it.
water heater.
Okay.
Because the way the heat pump water heater works,
Right.
it takes the humidity out of the space that it's in, and it runs it across the coil and sends that back into the hot water so that you can superheat your hot water.
Wow.
And it also, they come with several different settings, which you have an away mode. A lot of people love that if they're not going to be to camp the next weekend.
Sure.
Or maybe they're going to be gone on vacation for a week or two.
Right.
They can set that timer on there and it'll automatically warm up the date and the time that you set it for.
Wow. Nice. That's a nice feature to have then.
Very
You're not heating water for no reason. So
That's
While
right.
you're not there, it's on a mode that's efficient.
Right.
Now you kind of mentioned something about in the state of Maine, any of our residential homes with a full basement in the spring, summer, and into the fall, your basements have a lot of humidity in them. And it kind of sounds like this might address that.
That's correct. You can actually get rid of one more appliance in your basement. If you have a dehumidifier in your basement, the first thing I look for is to see that.
Yeah.
And like, well, you can get rid of that now with the hybrid heat pump water
Nice.
heater, because it's going to dehumidify the space.
Perfect. Perfect. Sounds like a great solution.
Yeah. And it actually is very economical now with Efficiency Maine and the state giving the rebates. It really is just about the same price as an electric standard water heater.
And what kind of useful life or warranty come with those typically?
All of Bradford White's water heaters, the hybrid water heaters, have a 10-year warranty.
Oh, wow.
And the electric water heaters, you can get anywhere from 6 to 10-year warranty.
Excellent. Tim, thanks so much for the information today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you have any other questions, Peter, give us a call.
We will. So folks, if you have any plumbing issues, reach out to Tim's Plumbing. Service is their specialty. Another item you really need to think about in these, cold climate, off-grid, our plumbing, when it comes into the cabin, it comes in and all of the internal plumbing, it's on inside walls, it's not underneath the cabin. We have virtually no plumbing underneath for water lines. Everything quickly comes up inside an interior wall or in the ceiling, so that we don't have to worry about freeze ups. And we've got one small section where the water line comes up out of the ground into the cabin, and we put a heat tape inside the line. So that will keep it. So when we get the 20 below, 30 below zero, we do have sections of that, you keep it ground cover. In a previous video, we talked about wells, but just that heat tape ensures that we won't have any freeze ups. So now that we've covered the plumbing and the hot water situation, let's continue out of the utility room into my living room. And my son and I, when we first bought this place, there was a lot of carpeting in here. So we put laminate down, tore all the carpeting out. The only upgrades I would probably make, this cabin here, these windows are old. The seals are gone. They are thermal pane. But as you can see, or maybe you can, maybe you can't, but the seals are gone in these windows. So I do have some air leakage around them. But I will tell you, this wood stove does a phenomenal job, even with the air loss around those windows. I can heat solely with the wood stove here. Now, one of the things you may want to consider when you put in your stove is have enough, think about thermal mass. The setting of the stove in behind these stones, slate, and concrete throughout the day, they'll gather a lot of heat. So even when the stove goes out, we're still getting some heat residual from that, just from the thermal mass. Finishing the living room, I do have a TV, but I'll tell you, it doesn't get a lot of use. And then off from the living room, I do have a spare bedroom here, but it's also the way I come in this time of year, especially because the driveway's not plowed on the well side, which I've talked about in a previous episode. But this is, my buddy was up from Minnesota a couple weeks ago. A bunch of us went ice fishing, and this was his room. If you're watching, Nate, had a great time, buddy. And then this is our lounge area. This is where Teddy hangs out. If you saw the episode that we talked about Teddy. And then I do have a great view of the side yard here. And I have had moose come up right by these maple trees right here. Just sitting here at the table having coffee, and the moose comes by to say hi. Do have a good collection of vinyl. Turntable and vinyl, and then our back field. So I do have a funny story about this cabinet. When we first bought this place, I think I had alluded in the opening of this video where the mice had taken over in here. So Carson and I were working, and he goes to open this cabinet. We were cleaning this place out. He opens the cabinet, and mice were flying everywhere. They were running everywhere. But you know what? This is a good time let's go to the interview I did with Jason at Heaven's Best pest control, to talk about taking care of rodents in these off-grid situations. So, folks, I'm sitting here today with my favorite pest control person, Jason, the owner of Heaven's Best Pest Control, Jason Urquhart. And Jason, you've been to my camp before.
Yes, sir.
And at one point, I thought we were going to have to go with a nuclear option to get rid of the mice. But you talked me off the ledge.
Yeah.
And you've helped me out. So somebody looking to build an off-grid cabin.
Yeah.
And they want to minimize the rodent issues.
Yeah.
What are your recommendations?
So there's a few things. One, I would make sure that there's no places for them to hide. Make sure there's no excess wood or leaves or anything around the cabin. That's one thing. Also, make sure that there's nothing there for them to eat. Make sure there's no garbage outside or anything like that. And then...
are we talking black bears or mice?
Either one. And then also, make sure if you have any holes at all where pipes are coming out through the side of the building, anything like that, that you can take and put copper mesh and styrofoam in, to seal any entry holes so they can't get in, would be a big thing. And then
how big a space does a mouse need?
it takes as much room as your pinky
The pinky to get in.
to get in. If they can get their nose through, they can get their whole body
Oh
through.
boy. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the biggest thing with camps I find a lot is the mosquito and tick. You know, people want to enjoy their yards.
Yes.
And so if they call us, we can go out and do a mosquito tick spray, which really does help.
And that is huge.
Yeah, that helps you so you can at least enjoy it. It makes it tolerable for you.
You can be outside, and I know, I can speak from experience. I had you work on my parents' house, and in the spring and summer, the mosquitoes there are horrendous.
Yeah, it's a difference between night and day.
It is. I mean, I went out there this past season after you had treated it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, they don't get rid of all of them. It's impossible.
No, but
it does
definitely huge.
definitely makes them bearable.
Yeah. Jason, thanks for meeting with me today, buddy. I know how busy you are.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, folks, whether you own a house in Bangor or a house out in the country, if you have any sort of pest control problem, give Jason a call. He's a great guy, and they're a great company to work with.
If bugs bug you, bug us.
You got it. So now that you guys know more about pest control in these off-grid situations, let's finish the first floor tour. Finishing my first floor is the laundry area. And we do have a propane dryer. That's the old original one that was here. And I'll tell you, we hardly ever use it because in the summertime and the fall, we're gonna hang clothes on the clothesline. And then the wintertime, you need the moisture inside. So we actually have a clothes rack to dry. And then we have a full bathroom here on the first floor. So let's head upstairs. So on the second floor, I have a spare bedroom here. And let's talk real quick about skylights, because that's a big deal in cold weather climates. You know, skylights are nice as far as letting in natural light, which they're doing right now. But I will tell you, in cold climates, it's like leaving a window open. The cold air just falls down through. A lot of heat loss out of those. So if you were going to go with those in your cabin or off-grid home, I would highly recommend that you build some insulation panels for the winter time. And luckily I close this room right off, so I'm not heating this room unless I have company. And this, like I said in previous videos, this cabin was already built. We did not build the cabin. And you can see there's propane lights in this room as well. So let's head over to the master bedroom. Now in the master bedroom, this was all carpeting, but my son Carson and I tore all that out and put laminate floor in here. And again, there's your skylight, and you can see the light coming in. But if you were here, you could feel the heat loss too. And then off the master, I do have a balcony looking out across the field and up towards the mountains. And then just finishing here is a half bath in the master. So thanks for coming along. That concludes the tour here of the cabin. This has been Peter McPhail with Lifestyle Properties of Maine. Thanks for joining me today on the cabin tour. Hey, if you have a funny mouse story, share that in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video in this off-grid series. Until then, be good. Jason, I know how busy you are, buddy. Thanks for meeting with me today. I'm not gonna look at you next time. Jason, I appreciate you meeting with me today.
You got me.